Most people have had to deal with grotty code that is hard to understand. We want to avoid code that is overly complex and painful or risky to update. How can you tell if the code you are writing will be hard for someone to read in 6 months? Previously, a measure like cyclomatic complexity would have been used. However, that's really more about spotting modules that are hard to test. This is an important thing to do, but something being hard or easy to test doesn't say whether it is hard to understand. To illustrate the issue, let's look at some simple code examples. In this first bit of code, we're looping through spotting prime numbers and adding them together. It's not the easiest code to understand because you have nested loops and that continue, dropping you back to the outer loop when it spots a non-prime. Using cyclomatic complexity gives this bit of code a score of 4. Now, let's look at a different bit of code. Hopefully you agree that this is much easier to understand, but you guessed it, it has the same cyclomatic complexity score of 4. This is a reflection of the different code branches that need to be tested, but doesn't accurately reflect what we can tell just by looking at the code. One is much harder to understand than the other. Here you can see the same two bits of code, but with their cognitive complexity scores calculated. This matches what our intuition tells us about how hard this code is to understand for an engineer.